All right, I'm getting it going on to stream. So
Okay.
I believe everything's in order now.
John, are you able to hear us? Okay, do you know how to unmute it so that we can hear you?
Can you hear me now?
We can. Great.
Okay. Okay, mute.
Tom, you tell me when you think we're ready.
You should be good to go.
Wonderful. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the September 8th, 2020 Select Board meeting. Just want to acknowledge that the Select Board members are at the Dunaway Center right now, and we are socially distancing and in different parts of the building for this portion of the meeting, because when we go into executive session, we want to be face-to-face for some of our discussions. Even though we'll be face-to-face, we'll still be socially distancing and taking all appropriate measures following all CDC guidelines. Roll call shows that in attendance this evening is myself, Select Person Daly, Select Person Dolliver, Select Person Wynn, and I understand that Select Person Perry will be here in about 15 minutes. So we'll acknowledge her presence when she's able to sign on. Our first order of business this evening is 2.0 on our agenda, and that is an acceptance of a gift. Someone in town has graciously donated anonymously the $8,000 to fund the town share for the building improvement project at the Historical Society of Wells and Ogunquit. This person felt the need, heard the need, and felt like it was important to put forth the donation. They wanted the donation to be made to the town so that the town could then officially contribute the funds, or our portion of the funds, to the Historic Society. So with that, I have Bryce here, who's the new, if I understand correctly, and I'm not exactly sure of your title, Bryce, but the new executive at the Wells Ogunquit Historic Society. And I also have a board member from the Wells Ogunquit Historic Society, Robin Millward, with us. So before we motion to accept the gift, we thought it would be nice to hear from both of you as to what's happening. I know we discussed this several months ago, but it's been a while. And if you want to just share a little bit about the project and anything else that you would think would be important either to us or those who are listening tonight. Welcome.
Sure. Well, thank you. Thank you very much. And as just by way of quick introduction, I am Bryce Waldrop. I am the new administrator / curator over at the Historical Society. Just joined back in July, and thrilled to be here. I'm a historic preservation architect and a historian by profession, and just great to be here, be a part of the organization, serving Wells and Ogunquit, meeting our local history and archival needs, and of course taking care of our fabulous restored meeting house and campus and research library here. Yeah, again, we cannot say thank you enough to this kind and generous donor who, as you said, saw a genuine need, and also clearly shares our passion for historic preservation and sees the vital importance of maintaining these resources in as efficient way that we can, so that we can conserve our financial resources and reduce our carbon footprint, and serve people the best way we can. So just as a quick background on the project, this project, many of you already know, our Historical Society occupies both a restored mid-19th century meeting house as well as a research library and museum that's attached to the back of it, two structures that are joined as one. This project will provide insulation both to the attic of both the meeting house and the library, as well as insulating the currently uninsulated first floor of the meeting house, which is above a crawl space, which is also unheated. It will also insulate the ductwork that runs beneath these structures, which is also currently uninsulated in a very drafty, cold basement cellar area. This project, our goal, really, the intent is to reduce our significant heating costs, number one. Number two, we have to close in the winter to reduce our costs. And we'd like to stay open through the winter to continue to serve the public and hopefully provide more programming in the winter months, perhaps with the local school districts. And lastly, we have, I think with the town of Ogunquit, shared sustainability goals. We all, I think, endeavor to reduce our carbon footprint, to act in, as environmentally responsible way as we can. And I think this will go a long way in reducing our use of heating oil now and in the future. So just a quick update on kind of where the project started and where we stand at this point. The project was put together last year by a former board member, and it quotes for the project came in and amounted to approximately $25,000. We then approached the Ogunquit and Wells to see if they would provide a grant to fund this project in addition to their annual allotment. Both towns were amenable to that. Wells providing $17,000 and Ogunquit providing $8,000. Wells has since been able to realize that and distribute those funds. And we're now inquiring again if Ogunquit would be able to do the same, but understanding the funding appropriations were delayed to give careful consideration given all of the other emerging priorities, which are completely understandable given the state of the world. But we do hope to move the project forward if we can. To that end, we met with the Budget Review Committee last week and had a very productive meeting with them. They asked a lot of very good, very important questions. I do have some responses. I'll share with you quickly just so you can kind of see where our thoughts are on their questions, their concerns. First, they asked, was an energy audit completed while developing this project? And while we, at the time, excuse me, we did not complete a formal energy audit, we did consult with an energy audit company who came and looked at the facility and was able to give us a brief written set of recommendations that we then developed the project around. However, we have since contracted with a company to perform an energy audit, which we're having done in 2 weeks. And that document, once we get it, will also answer the next question about the savings investment return, or ROI. How soon can we recoup this money that we're looking to spend? And we'll have that data and we'll be able to answer those questions more specifically in a few weeks. Also, BRC, the budget review, asked why it's important to do this project now, given all of the other emerging priorities and things that are happening. And we feel strongly that we are losing a lot of money in heating oil each year. This is not good for our financial health and really not good for our environmental carbon footprint, of course. And we'd like to, again, like I said, develop more programming. Currently, we're spending on average $5,300 a year in heating oil, and that's roughly 2/3 of the annual allotment that Ogunquit provides us. So if we can reduce that, and I'm confident we can, then I think that would be great. We'd love to use that money to serve the town of Ogunquit with programming and other needs. The budget review asked if one of our goals, which we had mentioned before, was to move away from fossil fuels and explore using things like heat pumps and other heating sources that don't rely on fossil fuels or heating oil. Why insulate the ductwork, which is built on that system right now? And it's a fair question. However, that goal of fossil fuel independence or using heat pumps or some other alternative heating source is a goal, and it's something we hope to achieve in the future. We have not yet been successful in getting grant funding to make that happen. So in the meantime, we're going to be spending a lot of money until that future date when we can put that project together. And we feel it's a good investment to install the insulation now to save that money while we can. And lastly, they did ask about efficiency main rebates, which is a great program, primarily for residential, for homeowners. Unfortunately, because we are a non-residential building facility, we do not qualify for those rebates, unfortunately. But and so that's generally where the project stands right now. We have the funding from Wells, as I said, and it's really tied to funding from Ogunquit in that they're codependent in that Wells really wanted to see the funding from Ogunquit as well in order to make the project, to commit to the project. If the funding from Ogunquit is not able to be realized at this time, then there's a chance we may have to return those funds to Wells and pursue this next year. And I understand a generous donor has stepped forward to fill this need, and we are eternally grateful for that. And we respect their anonymity, of course, but we do hope we do get to meet the individual or individuals at some point, and we're just grateful that there are people in the community that really see the need and value what the Historical Society can do for the community, as you all do, I'm sure. So.
Thank you so much, Bryce, not only for your bit of an overview about your building, but the specific project that we're discussing. I want to acknowledge that Lindsay Perry joined us just about a little over a minute ago at 5:26. Hi, Lindsay, welcome. Robin, just want to give you an opportunity if there's anything further you would like to add at this point.
Thank you very much, Chair. I should open by saying that our Chair, Irene Crocker, who attended the Budget Review Committee, was taken into York Hospital last night. Otherwise, she would be here to speak, and she's asked me to participate as a board member on her behalf. I'd like to reiterate that we are, of course, very grateful to our anonymous donor, but also to Pat, your town manager, for facilitating the submission of the briefing paper, which Bryce worked on very hard over the weekend to make sure that you had some documentation and some figures to look at. And also to you, the board, in anticipation of your honoring the donor's intent. You'll know I'm on the Charter Commission. Section 102.19 of the Charter just says you can spend the money, but it doesn't tie you to doing what the donor asks you to do. So thank you for that. When we made our initial submission, our emphasis was on the outreach and community-based initiatives. COVID has restricted these activities, and now is a great time to look again at what's going on behind the scenes in our society to underpin our work, to keep us in good order, to maintain our building and protect our resources. BRC was a salutary reminder of the need for facts, precision, and specific financial information. Our board hopes that the select board finds the briefing that Bryce worked on, which Irene and I reviewed, has given you comfort regarding the questions which the committee raised. Once again, our thanks to all, and in particular to our very generous anonymous donor for enabling us to move ahead with this significant project. Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Robin. And please give our thoughts to your chair as hopefully has a speedy recovery.
Thank you very much.
Do any of the select board members have any questions and or comments, either for Bryce or Robin or in general? Select person Daly.
Can you hear me?
We can.
Sorry, I'm on someone else's computer. First of all, thank you for taking care of the roof. The roof is probably the most important part of a building. You protect the roof, you protect everything underneath. So thank you for doing that. My only question is there anything else in the next 5 years you guys see as a CapEx expenditure that might be needed so we can prepare for it?
Another capital expenditure or expense in the next 5 years? Is that your question?
Yes.
Is there like different from this project or not related or a completely different one?
Just any CapEx coming in the next 5 years outside the roof? Anything you see coming forward?
It's a good question. I'd have to look at that and discuss with the board. We do have a number of other initiatives we're working on, both capital expenses and others. For instance, right now we have a matching grant to restore the interior of the meeting house, to repair plaster, to repaint and refinish the walls and refinish the floors, which are much need of attention. That's a matching grant that has not been fully matched yet. That's something we're currently working on right now. But again, we have other projects and priorities, and I can follow up with more detail.
Great,
Thank
thank you,
you.
Bryce. And I would encourage you to share that information with our town manager. She's going to be working with our budget committee in the coming months, and part of that plan is to put forth a minimum of a 5-year plan around what we think might be coming up in the future. So it'd be great
I
if
see.
she's able to include anything from you all as we're thinking not just about the next year, but future years down the road.
Okay, that's great. Happy to do that. And I just want to echo Robin's comment and thank Pat as well for her help. She was great about responding and helping us pull that together. So, but yeah, I will make sure that we put together some ideas for the next for a 5-year outlook and share that with Pat and communicate with you as well. So,
All right, wonderful. So if there are no further questions at this time, are we good? Everyone good? Okay. I'd like to ask that we have a motion to accept the $8,000 anonymous gift, and that those funds be used to be given to the Historic Society of Wells and Ogunquit for the insulation project.
So moved.
I have a motion by Select Person Dolliver. Do I have a second? I have a second from Select Member Wynn. Is there any discussion on the item? Okay, hearing none, I'm going to call for a roll call vote. And John, we don't see you on screen, but are you able to hear us and to make your vote?
Yes, I support the vote.
All right. John Daly is a yes. Rick Dolliver, how do you vote?
Yes.
Okay, Rick Dolliver is a yes. Lindsay Perry, how do you vote?
Yes.
Okay, Lindsay, just so you know, it looks like your screen is frozen, but we can hear you. Lindsay Perry is a yes. And Bob Wynn, how do you vote?
Yes.
Bob Wynn is a yes. Bob, I just want to say I'm not sure I'm hearing you on my headset.
Here we go.
I can hear it in the other room.
Yes. I know I yelled it.
Well,
Great,
no,
thank
not
you.
like that. I could hear it on.
Bob Wynn is a yes, and I too am a yes. The motion passes 5-0. Thank you again, Bryce and Robin, for all your work on this project and for coming this evening. You're more than welcome to stay through the rest of our meeting if you would like.
thank you so much.
Thank you. This moves us on to 3.0 in our agenda, which is the public hearing. It is on our special town warrant for November 3rd, 2020, and considerations for that warrant. We have items 3.1, zoning and land use ordinance amendments, which include the floodplain management ordinance and the subdivision regulations. We have 3.2, which is an acceptance of a private way, Mariner Overlook. And we have 3.3, capital improvement budget articles. They include $78,000 for fire and EMS department for EMS equipment. They include 20,000 for the police department for the police chief's vehicle. We already discussed the 8,000 for the historic society. Then we have the transfer station, 17,500. This is for roll-off containers and repairs to a waste container. And 175,000 for LED streetlight conversion project. And lastly is $300,000 for land acquisition that is planned for conservation. So with that, it is 5:35, and I'd like to call the public hearing to order. Is there anyone in the public who would like to comment? If so, please raise your hand, and Tom Orlando, who's helping us this evening, will ensure that you're able to talk.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Select Member Dolliver.
why would 3.5, I'm sorry, why would 3.4 not be open for, and I know we'll discuss it later, but a citizen's petition would be part of the warrant.
Yes, so if it looks like that's under 3.0, that's my apology. They should also include the citizens petition, which is to also ask the town for the 300,000 for the land conservation.
Thank you.
All right, looks like we have our first speaker as part of our public hearing, and that's Tom Sellers. Tom Sellers, if you want to unmute, you should be able to speak. If you just
Great,
want
thank you.
to state your name as well as give us your association with the town of Ogunquit.
Sure. Tom Sellers, Bourne Lane, and I'm interested in commenting for the public hearing on to clarify the current fiscal year impact, financial impact of warrant article number 12, which would appropriate $175,000 for the LED conversion project. The appropriation in this warrant article really would just allow the town to enter into a 5-year lease agreement to purchase, install, and maintain LED streetlights for the town of Ogunquit. So in looking at this project, it's important to understand what the current fiscal year impact would be. With a 5-year, so let's do some basic math. With a 5-year lease, that means the current fiscal year impact would be $35,000 for the lease. The town has had an analysis done and estimates that the cost of electricity for the LED system would be $10,000 in the current fiscal year. So the current fiscal year cost of doing this project is $45,000. Now let's compare that to what we have currently in the budget. The town management estimates that without doing this project, we'll spend on the order of $65,000 on electricity for the streetlights in Ogunquit. And our budget actually has in it a line item for $80,000 for streetlight electricity. So the actual cost of not doing this project, it would be $65,000 to $80,000 to the town. So here's a very simple choice for the select board. If the select board approves this project and does not concur with the budget review committee, it will cost the town $45,000 in the current fiscal year. If the select board rejects this project and concurs with the budget review committee, it's going to cost the town $65,000 to $80,000 this year. So it's a very simple choice. We can either spend $65,000 or we can spend $45,000. And in the year where everyone is concerned about our spending and how much we're going to be laying out in cash, it means that we would be spending more than we would need to by not doing this project. So I would strongly advocate that the select board approve this Article 12 in the CIP and on the warrant, and appropriate $175,000 from the undesignated fund for this project, which will end up being paid out over a 5-year period. Thank you for listening to my comments, and I look forward to continuing to work with you as a member of the Budget Review Committee and as the sole member of that committee voting for this project.
Thank you so much, Tom, for your comments, and you brought up some things that I'm hoping we'll discuss as a select board when we after the hearing. Tom or Orlando, do we have anyone else wishing to speak this evening?
Peter, you should be able to unmute.
Okay, thank you. Peter Kahn, Turn Street in Ogunquit, voter, resident, everything else. The rainy day fund currently has a balance in it of over $4 million, having increased 900.
Peter, I'm sorry, we are just hearing you right now. If you'd like to start over, that would be helpful.
Okay, all right, sorry about that. So the rainy day fund at the moment has a balance in it of over 4,000.
Peter, for the record, can you just state your affiliation with the town of
Sure.
Ogunquit?
Sorry, Peter Kahn, Turn Street, resident, voter, taxpayer, small business owner, etc. So the rainy day fund increased about $900,000 this year due to the efforts of the town manager and her staff. Thank you, Pat and staff, for that. When the select board votes this evening on CIP items, you should approve projects that make economic sense today. Why would you shy away from projects just because it's COVID-19? We should be prudent in our spending, but we are by no means destitute. I urge the board to approve warrant Article 13, a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to set aside 150 precious acres for ourselves and future generations. I'm talking about the old Boston Farms parcels on North Village Road. Article 13 asks the voters to raise $225,000 this year and add to it the $75,000 already in the reserve fund, which will enable the Great Works Land Trust to acquire the land. Ogunquit residents will be assured of access to the preserve in perpetuity, including hunting and fishing. The purchase will save numerous acres along the Ogunquit River from development, thus contributing to cleaner rivers, cleaner estuary, and a cleaner beach. I urge the board to vote in favor of this expenditure, as has the Budget Review Committee. Additionally, I'd just like to follow up on what Tom said on the town streetlight projects. It absolutely makes no sense not to go along with this project. If it's voted down, it will cost money in year one, and it will delay savings in the future after 5 years of $50,000 annually. So any delay in this project costs money, it doesn't save money. And those are my comments. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for your comments, Peter.
That's it for hands.
Okay, we'll just give everyone a moment to make sure that there's no one else who would like to comment during the public hearing.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Select Member Perry.
am I frozen? Can you hear me?
You are not frozen and we can hear you.
Just in case, Tom, could you resend me the invite? I'm trying to get onto this on my computer and not my phone, but I'm in the back office and I'm having trouble with the internet Wi-Fi here.
Send that now.
Select Member Perry, just keep in mind that you would have been sent a link for what is supposed to be our 6 p.m. meeting, executive session, which is going to be sent via a separate link. So just know that you might already have that in your email address.
Yeah, that's the one I used to get on here, I think, but I'm just having,
Lindsay, I just resent. If you check your email, the link should be in there.
Okay. Tom, do we have anyone who's raised their hand who would like to provide comment during this public hearing?
No more hands.
Okay. It is 5:44 and I'll call the public hearing to end. This moves us on to our 3.5 on our agenda, which is to review the special town meeting warrant articles for consideration. This is our opportunity to discuss as a select board any further on the items that are being proposed under the capital improvement budget articles, and for us to provide our vote. Tonight, as we vote, these votes will eventually show up on the ballot, assuming both us and the Budget Review Committee have agreed to move forward an item, and or if the Budget Review Committee did not approve an item to move forward, but we did, then that too would show up on the ballot. Or if the Budget Review Committee approves something and we don't, it will still show up on the warrant, the ballot. So this is our opportunity, and I'd like to start off taking these one at a time with the 78,000 for fire and EMS, our fire and EMS department. This is for 18,000 for an EMS chest compressor and 58,000 for 2 units cardiac monitors. Are there any questions and or discussion before we call for a motion? And Pat, I'll give this opportunity for you if you'd like to share anything.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Very briefly, I don't want to go over ground that the select board may have already heard at the Budget Review Committee meeting, but this was approved unanimously. The chest compressor is a vital piece of equipment when we need to do cardiac patients. We have 2 ambulances, only 1 chest compressor. So if you show up at a call with the ambulance, it doesn't have the chest compressor and you need it, that wastes precious time. So that is recommended. And the second article, which is the cardiac monitors, we currently have 2. This request is to have 2. These are replacements. The timing for this replacements is a couple of things. One is, as with many pieces of technology, over time, the vendors like to upgrade and no longer support the existing equipment, and that is the case here. So what the vendor is doing is offering to upgrade these heart monitors basically at half the price. So we would still get 2 monitors at about the cost of what it would cost to get 1. And it is because they will no longer be supporting the technology that is on these heart monitors. You have a letter from our medical services director, Dr. Brown, who highly recommends this as well. For a number of reasons, happy to answer other questions. Again, I don't want to belabor things that you've already are familiar with.
Thank you for that overview, Pat. Are there any questions or comments from select board members? Pat, my understanding is the town is currently seeking some potential grant money for these needs. And you and I had discussed, we probably set a date that, whether it's if the town doesn't receive grant money by February 1st, then the town approves this expenditure. Do you have a date in mind?
I apologize, Mr. Chair, I did not get a good date for what that might be. I think I would feel more comfortable with it being December 1st because of the license for the heart monitor will be expiring December 31st.
Okay. Pat, I lost internet access and so did Select Member Dolliver. Select Member Wynn, have you had internet the whole time? Okay. And it appears, Lindsay, are you on?
Internet either.
Select Member Dolliver, are you on?
Cut off. Like,
I'm on. I see you and I see Pat. But everybody's frozen now.
We're only catching every other.
I can hear you personally, but I can't hear you over the,
Okay, we're going to give this 1 minute to see if you can resolve your issue, and Select Member Perry, we're going to give you a minute to see if we can resolve this issue. If we can't, then I'm going to make another recommendation for how to handle this.
Tom, can you hear me?
We can hear you now, Rick.
I can hear everybody. I can see everybody but Lindsay, and I haven't had any other issues so far. Just Lindsay going on and off trying to figure out her login issue.
Okay, I'm totally online again, and I don't see Lindsay either.
Lindsay, we could just hear what you're trying to
I can only see myself on the screen. Square.
Okay. So it appears that the technology is not working here. So my recommendation is that we stop meeting on these items and we reschedule a meeting for some time in the next couple of days where we can actually discuss these items and vote on them. Is that acceptable to the members?
Yes, John
No,
Daly.
no.
Okay.
Why can't we do it right here and have Jordan turn on the public comments over? If Jordan's here and can do it on WOGT, we could bang this up.
Because we publicized that the meeting would be via Zoom, and it won't there if we change our technology in the mid-meeting. It wouldn't have been given proper notice to the public. The way the law works right now is the public has to be able to at least minimally hear us, and we have to be able to hear each other. And it doesn't appear that that's working via Zoom.
I understand that. Technology has failed us, and we will stream it on WOGT as our town charter dictates.
Except for we advertised that it would be streamed via Zoom and conducted this way.
So leave it just like this.
Can we take a 10-minute recess and go home where our internet works?
I mean, how the town internet isn't working?
It doesn't work in the Dunaway. Yeah.
That's my point. So,
okay. I'm going to call a vote. I'm asking for us to end and cease this meeting. We have a 6 o'clock scheduled with our attorney for our executive session. And so I want to be mindful of that as well. So do I have a motion to end the public portion of our meeting this evening?
Second.
So moved. Second.
All right,
Second.
we have a move. I have a motion from Select Member Perry and a second from Select Member Nguyen. We'll do a roll call vote. John Daly, how do you vote?
Yes.
Okay. Lindsay, excuse me, Rick Dolliver, how do you vote?
yes.
Lindsay Perry, how do you vote?
Yes.
Bob Nguyen, how do you vote?
Yes.
And I too am a yes vote, so that is 5-0. My apology to the public who tuned in this evening. This is our second time trying something that we thought might work at the Dunaway. We will reschedule to take these votes here in the coming days. We're going to take a brief recess. It is 5:53, and the select board will reconvene again for an executive session to begin at 6 p.m. Thank you so much.